Well, Hare Krishna to all you stalwarts. In spite of all the obstacles you've assembled here, I hope I can deliver at least a little wisdom. And if I can, it's not coming from me, because to tell you the truth, I'm a conditioned soul subject to the influences of this world. But I do have a very saintly teacher, my spiritual master. So if I can repeat something from him, then that will be of value. The dog agreeing or disagreeing? What do you think? He has his own opinion. So Balaram, what do I do? Do I read from that light of the Bhagavad? Do I just read? No, but you tell me what to do. No, but what do you usually do? All right. I don't want to rock the boat. I'm not too much of a contrarian. Now, what we do appreciate you guys making the effort. And I will say those words. Oh, we need a clock so I can keep true to my word. Now I just need glasses. There's always something. Looks to me like it says 7 o'clock, and I don't think that's accurate. All right, so we'll just assume it says 8 o'clock. And somebody can give me a nudge if I go on too long. And we do have a nice meal afterwards, isn't it? So you sit through me, you'll make it, don't worry. And there'll be a reward at the end. Hey, now we're talking. Of course, now it goes out. My guru used to joke that this is material science. I mean, we fly on airplanes pre-COVID. We do practical things, but we don't put a whole lot of stock in them because the Vedas describe these things as harsha soka. Harsha means, they bring happiness and distress. So we've got a clock, but, can I see it? We've got this thing, but you have to push it with a button or it goes dark. There's always two sides of the coin. Okay. So we are going to read today from what is called Light of the Bhagavad. And it's actually a summary study from the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Purana. Now I just have to find it. Jeez. We don't have a book handy, do we? Otherwise I'll roam around with this, but I don't want to waste everybody's time. It's always, and then to find it, by the time he finds it all, I've found it here. At least he got some exercise out of it, right? Wasn't a total waste. Oh, Govinda. In the future, it'd be good to have the book handy, because this is going to be a bit hard for me to find. Well, to tell you the truth, I'm going to just paraphrase it to save everybody time. Do we hear hopeful steps? Hey, Bhakti Alex to the rescue. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. So we're on the 7th verse. If you ever have a chance, this book has fantastic illustrations. They're all done in the Chinese. I forget the name of the style, but she's a famous artist who actually became a Krishna Bhakta. And so she did all this artwork, and it's very beautiful. So the verse, the small rivulets that almost dried up during the month of May and June now begin to overflow their banks, just like upstarts that suddenly overflow the limits of expenditure. And my teacher's comments. One should learn gravity from the sea and from the rivulet. It's a compare and contrast. What do we learn from the sea, and what do we learn from small rivers? Let's compare. The sea is always within its limits, in spite of the many, many rivers pouring water into it. I mean, if you think about it, you've got the Amazon, you've got the Congo, you've got the Ganges or Ganga, you've got the Mississippi. I don't know what I've forgotten. The Nile. Just for fun, when you go home, do a Google on the Google Maps, and you'll see that the Amazon, where it comes out into the Atlantic Ocean, it brings silt miles out into it's brown from all the silt coming out of the river. It's literally billions of gallons of water every minute. And if you think about 9 major rivers, and you think about they're all pouring water into the ocean, if I got a cup here and I keep pouring water in it, it's going to overflow. Yet we find with all the rivers entering into the ocean remains steady. So that's the analogy we make. There's so many distractions and disturbances. There's always something. If there's not something, there's two, more than one. But one who's deep in knowledge like the ocean, fixed in understanding of himself or herself, they're not disturbed by all that agitation. Whereas a small river, it floods, it causes havoc. So that's the part of the analogy being made here. The sea is always within its limits, in spite of many rivers pouring into it. Similarly, one should properly use the assets of life and not squander them for purposes that are not of permanent value. I'll give you a Chinese koan to think about. It actually comes from the Vedas. One should never give up the permanent for the temporary. You'll lose both. If nothing else, just take this home and think about it. One should never give up the permanent for the temporary. You'll lose both. Anybody know why that makes sense? How does that work? Don't worry, you'll still get dinner. There's no loss here. Anyone want to take a guess? If I give up the permanent, what's that? Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey.
Nice technology. But it's I'm assuming, or this is what my interpretation of it, the idea that you're not waiting for the longer, later reward. You're trying to satiate on the shorter, reward.
Very
essentially.
good.
Yeah, that's what I.
The thing is that the temporary, we're going to lose anyway. Time and tide wait for no one. Nothing is certain but change. Krishna says in the Gita that this world is constantly mutable. There's a great section in the Gita that describes how this material world, what we're experiencing, is a great machine of constantly mutable forces, and it's always changing. So if there actually is something permanent, if there actually is eternal reality, eternal truth that goes beyond time, then let me find out about that and not spend my whole time with as they used to say when I grew up, with the small potatoes. What if there's actually something bigger? So that's what it's talking about here. One of the things it's talking about. Hey, way to go. Where do we leave off? Okay, so uncontrolled sensuous persons play with the assets of the body and accumulate wealth. But the strength of the body should be used for self-realization and not for sense gratification. Let me give you an example. We've all seen the what's the time? We've all seen the advertisement for Nike, their slogan. What's the Nike slogan? Anybody know? For 10 extra points? Huh? Just do it. Now, let me ask you a question. If we actually step back and think, just do it, man. Adventuresome, exciting, sounds good. Well, that's what lemmings do. You know, lemmings who go off the cliff, they just do it. Wouldn't it be wise to think before we do it? What are the consequences? What is the result of this, So I'll give you an example, and then we'll just take some questions because I don't want to take up too much of your time. But there's from the form, you can figure out the function. And picture some archaeologist digging around with shard pots, pots of pieces of pots, digging them up. And they figure, oh, this was used for holding grains, means they had an agrarian society, which means they had, whatever. From the form, they figure out the function. From the form, they figure out the function. Now, we've all got different bodies. The animals have bodies. So let's look at it for a minute. What is this body actually designed from? Look at the design of this thing. Here we are, we're, within these bodies. What are they designed for? And my spiritual master, as all these sadhus, frankly, the prophets of yore from the Bible, they didn't pull punches. Because they had to, wait a minute. If people are going off a cliff, if somebody's about to walk out into traffic, do you say, well, gee, we've never been introduced, and maybe I should send him a text message first, and, you just grab the guy because he's about to go out into traffic. So the saints, sages, prophets, sometimes they speak quite bluntly because they don't have a whole lot of time and they're trying to wake us up. So my guru, one of the first things I heard him say is that modern society is simply polished dogs and cats. I was thinking of the Chrysler building. Well, that's a beautiful building. I was thinking of, there's so many. What about Mozart? What about, hang on a minute here, But he made this point that ultimately people, what do animals do? They eat, sleep, mate, and defend. Generally speaking, okay, that's just categories, you can get it, but they eat, sleep, mate, and defend. And they don't do it with a whole lot of anxiety. I don't think the pigeons go on Tinder or whatever looking for a mate. It's a pretty easy thing. The dogs can sleep anywhere. We've got to have, so many different things. So if you look at it, if I want to eat, well, cows have what? 3 stomachs? I don't know exactly how it works. An elephant, I don't know how much they can barrel through, I eat 2 or 3, whatever it is, and I'm finished. We have our body, once again, back to the point from the design, what's the function? Our body is not really designed for eating. If we just compare to other bodies, it's like, you got an SUV or you got a sports car, you got a panel van. They're designed for different things, different vehicles. So hang on a minute, rather than just, without thinking, just assume what the goal of life is and what's valuable and, what's truth and all that. Hang on a minute. And if it's not designed for eating and sleeping, bears hibernate. There's turtles that can go for 13 years. They actually suspend their breathing. There's all kinds of far out stuff. I don't know about you guys, but, what's the record for sleeping? Do we have I don't know, what? 12 hours at a shot? Hey, let's say you make it 24 hours a shot. That doesn't compare to bears, can put in a good 6 months or whatever it is. So this body's not designed for eating. It's not designed for sleeping. I think you know where I'm going. It's not really designed for mating. Pigeons, I don't want to get graphic, but, they've got so much more facility, so many children in the litter. A lion can go at it, 15, 20 times in an hour. So what are we designed for? And the last thing, defending, fine. I don't know what the modern, take one of these superheroes. I'm a little bit dated. Take, what's that guy, Bruce Lee? Put Bruce Lee in a cage with a Bengal tiger. Who are you going to bet on? What do you think? Who's got a better chance? So obviously one swipe, I don't know if you've ever seen a Bengal tiger, but they are a massive beast. And their palms, they could just, they'll knock off his head with one, swoop up their. So if this body is not designed for eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, my spiritual master gave a nice example. He was on a morning walk in the Calcutta Zoo. And when he got out of the zoo, he turned to his students and he said, "What did we learn today?" He liked that he would ask questions and kind of, you had to think a bit, what did we learn today? And he said, what we learned, because everybody stumbled around. He said, what we learned is that all the elephant, the gorilla, the crocodile, the tiger, they can just devour us in 1 second. But they're all in the cages, and the human beings are walking free. So what did we learn? What was his point? His point was that intelligence is better than strength. It's better than strength. There it is, a graphic example. So the point is that man is called the rational animal. We can think. We have a sense, of whatever it is. We have a sense of time, of what is the future, better prepare for it. So our humble appeal, because I don't want to go on too much longer and I want to see if you guys have some questions. Our humble appeal is that human life is meant for more. And let's take a common denominator. Everybody wants to be happy. Now, how you define happy, that's another thing. But everybody wants to be. We may have some closet masochists here. If anybody wants to out themselves, now's their chance. But generally speaking, people want to become happy. Okay, Krishna gives a formula in the Gita. We all agree on that. I may be happy by filling my belly. I may be happy by becoming president. I have my ideas of how I become, whatever it may be. But the principle of I want to become happy. Okay. And Krishna says in the Gita, the first step in becoming happy, we have to become peaceful. You can think about it. Look at, I don't want to mention names, but you've got people who have millions of dollars and they're completely agitated. We've got some beautiful, the most handsome or beautiful, and they're completely riddled with anxiety. They get that first wrinkle or first gray hair. That's it, man. Botox, and off they go. So I guess I'll say it this way. If we think about it, don't be cheated. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Sorry, it came back to me. We want to become happy? Okay, fine. How to become happy? We've got to become peaceful. Because wherever you are, whatever you have, if the mind isn't peaceful. So what's the next logical question? If I want to become happy, I want to become happy. Yes. If I want to become happy, I want to become peaceful. Okay, peaceful. What's the next step in peaceful? Krishna says in the Gita that you've got to learn to control your senses. That if we're just eating, sleeping, just trying to stuff in our mouth, there's all kinds of karma, there's illness, there's disease, there's feverishness, there's, how to get the money. Once you get on that conveyor belt, you got to work hard like a donkey. I was talking with the businessman one time, and there's many nice businessmen, don't get me wrong, but he was retired and he was reading the Wall Street Journal. And this is obviously some years ago, and China was just opening up. And he turned to me and said, just think of it. Whatever it was, 7 billion, 3, what is it, China? 1 billion, 3 billion? What is China? 1 billion. Okay, fine. So he said 1 billion consumer units. In other words, here was a simple population because they were basically rural in the time. And all those things they didn't know they needed. So let me agitate there. There was another guy I was talking to, and he said, what is the basic principle of marketing? Anyone know? Create a need, then fill it. Oh, kids are playing completely peacefully with a cardboard box or with a tree or an old inner tube. But you show them, you don't have the latest whiz bang, you don't have the latest superhero toy, you don't have this or that. They're going to there, I want, gimme. You create a need, and then you say, and I just happen to be selling 3, for the price of 1 at a discount. I just happen to be here to solve your need. I lit the fire, and then I say, I've got the thing to solve your problem. And if you think about it, we are being exploited. The vast majority of people, the 1% and the 99%, you get a little pigeonhole. My spiritual master, you say a pigeonhole in a skyscraper building. You get a little apartment. You don't even get a pension nowadays. When I was growing up, when you worked for a company At least you put in, you gave me your lifeblood for whatever it was, 40, 50 years, and you retired with a pension, your house paid off, and full medical. Now they squeeze all of your life energy out of you, the vast majority of people. And what do you have at the end of the thing? You don't even have enough to retire. I was talking to my brother-in-law. He's a school teacher. I don't want to take too much time. But I said, hey, when are you going to retire? He said, no, I can't retire. I'm going to have to expire before I can retire. So, I mean, those are extreme examples, but the point we're trying to make is that if we want happiness, it's not coming in the formula we're being presented. We are literally drinking the Kool-Aid. If you stimulate your senses, if I just, that's how I'm going to become happy, but it's not working out for anybody else. And they all got to think about it. Well, time is there, so we'll end. Our simple appeal is, these are books of wisdom. They're books of knowledge. They're, what is it? News you can use. They're how to do, common sense, spiritual common sense. And we have tech support. We've got all of our devotees here, monks that are practicing. We're not advocating, you have to shave your head, although I must admit I'm always in fashion. I don't get up in the morning thinking, what am I going to wear today? Does this match this? It's pretty simple life, and it has its sweetness. But that's not our thing. The monks are what they call Atma Rama. Atma Rama, at least we're trying to be, and generally speaking we are. Atma Rama, Atma means the self, Rama means happiness or pleasure. So we're taking happiness within. And our only point is that we actually care about you. And whether you're a school teacher or whether you're working in whatever you're doing, go for it, no problem. My guru told me, one of the first things he told me, he said, if you take 0 times 0 to the 0th power, you want to take a whack at it? It's not advanced math. 0 times 0 to the 0th power, it's 0. 0 minus 0 is 0 plus 0 is. Hey, way to go, man. We're on a roll here. But if you put a 1 in front of it, that 0 becomes 10 or 100 or million. So you just add the 1. So my guru told me, he said, whatever you're doing, he said, you add the 1 of spiritual understandings. How is this whole thing working? Who am I? I'm trying to please myself, but who the hell am I? Am I black or white or male or female or Chinese or Russian? Am I this mind? Am I this ego? Am I this pride? Am I this anger? Who am I? And if I find out who I am and I find out how this world is working, then I can actually figure out the course for how to become happy. So that's our humble appeal. Please take a book home. Do we have books? Yeah. And I don't get a commission. So, and whatever, you don't want to buy a book, come here and read them. We got a library. We don't care. We can tell you how to get them online. So just don't be cheated. Don't just do it without thinking. Don't stay on the animal plane and just try to stuff things into your senses. But you're better than that. You're meant for more than that. And these books are books of knowledge that tell you how to do it. So we'll end there. Okay, Balaram? Did I earn my dinner? Okay. Do we take questions or we roll on? Because I did go on a bit long now. So you tell me. If anybody's got a question, we'll be short, I promise. Oh, the man in back. Okay.
So you kind of mentioned control the senses. You kind of mentioned that control the senses, right?
Yes.
And I kind of feel like that's not the right word to use, to control the senses. Actually, it's more about, because in the past, when I try to control the senses, it actually hurts me more because it comes back with many, many magnitude heavy to kind of come back and overpower me. I think the better way to do it is to be aware, like what you said. Like
let me say this, if you don't mind me riffing off what you said. You're actually right. that was the next thing I was going to say, but didn't want to go on too long. The Krishna says in the Gita that what does repression accomplish? You know, you could like a pressure cooker. You can just shut the lid on the thing, but it's gonna blow eventually. So as I said, we all want happiness. If I have a child, let's say there's a kid here, and they're playing around with a knife. Let's take a little kid, 3 years old, and they're playing around with a sharp knife. Or even, you take it away, the kid will cry and want it. But you take something else, you take an innocent toy or a key or a mirror or whatever, and the kid just drops the dangerous thing and takes the good thing. So by having a higher taste, you can easily give up a lower taste. And as I was trying to allude to, the Atma Rama, the happiness of the self, that is the actual fulfillment. The more one advances in spiritual life, it's compared that whatever happiness, it's like a small puddle of water compared to the ocean. The happiness of the self, the happiness of and what to speak of in connection with the Supreme. We're all looking for love. We're all looking for someone who understands and appreciates us and accepts us in spite of all of our shortcomings. So, okay, good. Thank you. Very good question. And you're actually right. Repression does not.
Yeah. So I was.
Okay, we got it. I want to let some other people have a chance. Anybody else got? Yeah, there we go.
What was your name again?
My name?
Yes.
It's a secret. No, it's a long name, Sanskrit name, Badrinarayan Swami. But you can just call me Swami. And that's what everybody, it's easy.
Which temple are you from?
Well, I travel a lot.
Most recently?
I'm usually here in San Diego about 6 months out of the year.
Okay, cool. And
why, you selling plane tickets or something?
You gave me some good marketing advice, definitely. But he mentioned the senses and blocking them out. What about like sensory deprivation tanks? I mean, do you think, because that's kind of what you made me think of when you're talking about blocking out
no, and you're picking up on the same thing. I'm sorry I didn't make it clear. Our principle is by developing a higher taste. Everybody wants happiness. That's what motivates us. You know, if you look, what is it that one of the books we have is Chaitanya Charitamrita, and it means the activity of the life force in immortality. If, to get a happiness that we always lose, it's described that the general state of the conditioned mind is either hankering or lamenting. We're either, if only I had, I wish, when we're looking in the forward, or we're lamenting about what we lost. And very often, very rarely, I'll give you an example. When I was, I'll try to be quick. When I was a kid, I was the youngest in my family, and my brother, sister, they all went off to school. I wanted to go to school like anything. So there I was. I went to first grade. Okay, that was fun. I want to go home and watch Sheriff John on TV and have my lunch. No, man, you're in here for six years. What? Well, I didn't sign on for 6 years. What's that all about, But then they said, oh, no, when you get into, we used to call it junior high school, but now they have, low self-esteem issues. So it's middle school. When you get into middle school, you can play sports. I thought, well, that'll be cool. Okay, fine. I'll hang in here. I was looking forward. And it goes on and on like that. When I get into high school, well, then I got varsity. Well, that'll be cool. And then you think, oh man, when am I going to get to high school? But when I get into college, hey, parents send money and don't bother me. Just send home laundry, fantastic. Pizza all day long, fantastic. But you talk to a senior in college, they want to know when they're going to get out into the real. I mean, maybe you got some guys that are stuck on the wheel and masters and PhD, but the vast majority of people, they want to get out and where the action is. And when they get out where the action is, what do they want to do? They want to climb the corporate ladder, or they want to get to the top position. They want to become, whatever their field is. So they're looking forward. They're looking forward. They're not really happy now, but they're looking forward. That's their real prize. And then I remember my father would say, oh, and what do you think after you've been doing the grind for a while? You think, man, when am I going to be able to retire? Jeez, that'll be good. And when they retire, what happens? Oh, when I was, in high school and I caught that pass, or, when I was starting out as a young buck in my career and it was all adventure, So they spend so much time looking forward, and the rest of the time they spend looking back. But the happiness of the self, it's unlimited and ever increasing. And forget self-deprivation. One who's actually in the mystic trance of devotion, whether he's working in the garden or she's working in the garden, whether you're cooking in the kitchen, whether you're taking care of your family, whatever you're doing, there's a higher taste because you're doing it in connection with the Supreme, with Krishna. So there's a whole level of happiness. It's not based on time, place. It's not based on whether you're physical. It's not based on any material circumstances, which is pretty far out when you think about it. If your happiness is based on material circumstances, I mean, let's just step back and look at it dispassionately. If my happiness depends on conditions, but conditions by very definition, just by the law of entropy, everything in this world is changing and fading and, morphing into different. And if my happiness is based on conditions, and conditions are guaranteed a priori to change, then what does that say about my happiness? I'm always on a, but if my happiness comes from inside, comes from connection with the Supreme, then I'm happy in any condition, in any place, in any time. And I'll tell you a really far out thing. As you advance in spiritual life, which you all are meant to do and all can do, it's not a unique thing for monks living in the temple, but as you advance in spiritual life, that happiness grows. It's unlimited, ever increasing. That's a pretty far out promise. And you can try it for yourself. You don't have to trust me. Okay, so we'll take one more. Hey, look at that. Somebody in back. We'll take one more and then that's it.
How did you come to be what you are now? And
Great
where
good
you are
fortune.
now?
I'll tell you another. I am absolutely no different than you. I mean, you might be smarter than me. I mean, okay, fine. You're different. But as far as it's not that, somehow our monks were like struck by lightning or, have some this is what everyone is meant to do. If you read, I mean, like I say, there are kings, there's servants, there's craftsmen, there's musicians, men, women, mothers, fathers, children, and they're all great devotees of Krishna. So there's no restriction. But I'll tell you how it actually happened in the short version. I thought there's got to be more than this. This short version, I was studying biology to become a doctor, frankly. And first off, nobody gave me good answers. If there's God, then where's the rhyme or reason? Where's the justice? If we only have one life, why is one child born blind and another one in sight? Why do people have easy life and this guy has a tough life? Is God capricious and cruel? I said, forget it. I don't believe it. If it gets you through the night, okay, you can believe it, but I'm not going to bluff myself. I don't see an answer that there's some cosmic being that's keeping everything in order. I just didn't buy it. But then as I was studying biology, I began to think, wait a minute, man, something's happened. Whether that there's intelligent design. Now, what is the nature of that intelligence? I don't know. But things are not happening by chance. Things are too ordered, too patterned. I mean, I could go into it, but it's just too much. The law of averages, statistics for the creation of the eye, forget it. So there has to be a design. So I was thinking, well, geez, there's got to be something. And I was surrounded by people who had everything that you could want materially. Had the house, had the yacht, had the third trophy wife or the fifth trophy husband, or, had all the stuff. And they were not happy people. So I thought, hey, if I stay on this path, I'm going to wind up just like them. Like one of the definitions of insanity, keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. Even I get all this stuff. They're not happy. I'm not, that's a dead end. So it wasn't happening by chance, although I had not heard any good answers to why is there, bad things happen to good people and good things happen to bad people. I didn't have any answers. And by the great good fortune, I met my spiritual master, my teacher. And Anyway, I got every question I asked, I got a profound answer that made sense, that was doable. And not only did he give me philosophy, a worldview that actually made sense, but he told me how to practice it. How to eat purely, how to sleep purely, how to think, how to, what is real welfare, how to do good in this world. I wanted to become a doctor and do good in the world. Okay, fine. We all need doctors. But, is there even a greater good? We got plenty of doctors. How many monks? How many people giving knowledge? We could up the average on that side and the world would be a better place. So to give you a short answer, I met my spiritual master and he showed me the path and the light and encouraged me, set the example for me, and said, here's what advanced spiritual life is like. And there was no question that he was on that level and just on such a sublime, happy platform. Just the deepest compassion, sharpest intelligence. And then he said, hey, and come on. This is for you too. Come on. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Good, very good question. Okay, we're going to end there, Balaram. Thanks a lot. Thanks for coming. Hare Krishna.